The Voices is a 2014 film starring Ryan Reynolds that follows his character Jerry, a peculiar man who seems a bit too cheery working as a packager at a bathtub factory in the sleepy factory town of Milton, Michigan. We watch as he starts what appears to be a meet-cute storyline with the woman who works at his company, but everything is just a bit off. We see early on that this story isn't like many of Ryan Reynolds' other movies. Jerry isn't the perfect small-town guy, and there is clearly something dark going on behind the scenes. The film sets up and plays with our expectations of not only the story that is being told, but also our expectations of the main lead, which makes the casting of Ryan Reynolds so perfect. This is pre-Deadpool, but still heavily into his Dreamboat lead era. This fact makes his performance all the more mesmerizing, especially when we learn that Jerry is suffering from long-term psychological issues and hears voices from his dog and cat, both of which are also voiced by Reynolds. It's when we see him carrying on full conversations with his pets that it becomes clear that the world shown to us, the lens through which Jerry sees the world, is skewed, and that nearly the entirety of the film is not an accurate representation of the real world. Nearly all, except for the one time that we see Jerry's apartment, and the world as it really is. The initial plot of the film follows Jerry trying to catch the eye of Fiona, an accountant at his company. This proves to be difficult, as Fiona finds Jerry off-putting. This isn't the normal Ryan Reynolds role, where he's the dreamy, handsome guy who has the perfect quip at every turn, as he easily sweeps the lead girl off her feet. He stares at people too long with a slightly unhinged smile. He says uncomfortable things that are inappropriate, and has a general lack of social intelligence. The turn for the tone and the plot of the film comes when Jerry, through a strange series of events, kills Fiona by falling on her with a knife, and then finishes the deed with a deliberate stab to the heart, followed by several more stabs. Jerry attempts to justify this murder as an accident, wrestling with his inner emotions through a mix of arguing with his cat, Mr. Whiskers, getting consoled by his dog Bosco, and after disposing of her body, getting egged on to continue murdering by Fiona's head, now stored in Jerry's fridge, so that she has some company. These scenes are juxtaposed with those of Jerry seeing his therapist, where we learn more backstory on Jerry. That he served time in a mental facility for something that he's done in his past, that the therapist is aware that he hears voices, that his mother also used to hear voices, and that Jerry has medication that he doesn't take. These flashes into Jerry's backstory are fleshed out further when he takes a future victim to his childhood home, and it's revealed that Jerry's father abused him and his mother, and that this likely amplified both of their hearing of voices. It's also shown that the reason Jerry served time in a mental facility is because he murdered his mother at her request after his father called the police to have her committed to an asylum. The film concludes with Jerry's secret murders getting discovered by his co-workers breaking into his apartment, while he's busy kidnapping his therapist to confess his killings and to try to get her help. In a final standoff with the police at his apartment, Jerry accidentally sets off a fiery explosion, which causes him to succumb to smoke inhalation and hallucinate a musical sequence with his parents, victims, and randomly Jesus. It's a strange, dark comedy that is filled with unique performances and a visual language that fully ingrains us in the fantasy world Jerry imagines through his fractured psyche. But very critically, there is one time that Jerry breaks out of this fantasy and sees the world as it truly is. When shortly after his first murder, Jerry takes his prescribed medication and slips into reality. Shortly after Jerry's first murder, it becomes clear that the stylized world of the film is not the reality that the other characters see. As Jerry is stabbing Fiona, we see blood spilling on the ground and the harsh reality of his actions. But when he returns the next day to retrieve her body at the behest of Mr. Whiskers, the scene has completely changed. She is now gracefully laid out in a bed of flowers, with no blood, and her stab wounds are barely visible. This change is amplified even more as Jerry walks away, and the camera tilts down to reveal that her blood and shoe are still on the ground, showing a clear disconnect between what Jerry sees and what is actually there. Jerry then takes Fiona's body back to his apartment, and through painstaking work, dismembers her body, puts her into small plastic containers, and saves her head to put in his fridge. He goes through such care to ensure that the colored lids of the containers are perfectly aligned, and there appears not to be a drop of blood on the counter or floor. It's unbelievably precise. After arguing with Mr. Whiskers and Bosco, Jerry debates taking his pills, but is finally ordered to by Fiona's head. Through jump cuts and distorted memories, we see that Jerry's military father was abusive and would lash out at him and his mother for hearing voices that weren't there. It's one of the first looks into his backstory and why Jerry is the way he is. When Jerry wakes from his drug-induced sleep, his apartment is drastically different. It's no longer clean or perfectly arranged. There are trash bags filled to the brim in the corners. Moldy takeout containers are stacked against the wall. Animal feces litter the floor, and there are discolored splotches of old spills on the furniture. The scene grows more grotesque as Jerry approaches the kitchen, and there are buckets of blood from Fiona littering the floor and the counters. This is the real world that Jerry blocks out. It's apparent from his reaction that Jerry has never come to terms with reality and desperately tries to get Bosco and Mr. Whiskers to talk to him. The final straw for him is seeing Fiona's decomposing head in the fridge. Faced with the harsh reality of his actions, he empties his pills down the sink and fully commits to going back to his distorted view of the world. When he wakes the following morning, he's back to his fantasy. The apartment is clean and proper. Bosco and Mr. Whiskers are talking, and Fiona's head appears to be alive again as she tells Jerry he did the right thing by getting rid of his pills. The knowledge of the true state of the world changes how the audience sees Jerry and what he does in every scene going forward, and recontextualizes the scenes from earlier in the film. We now know that even though we see the talking head of Fiona as she chats with Jerry while he eats breakfast, he's really talking with a decomposing head. This moment even evokes disgust when he gives her a bite of a cereal. The knowledge of the real world makes this scene horrifying. The fantastical elements of the movie are also dialed up to 11 as Jerry returns to work, seeing neatly choreographed forklifts dance around the loading area. The scene makes you stop and think, I wonder what's really happening in this moment. The reveal of the real world in Jerry's apartment changes the entire tone of the movie in just a few minutes. Even though we only saw one room for what it really is, it changes the way we see the entire world because we now know we are seeing everything from the view of an unreliable narrator. We are no longer blissfully unaware of the truth, that Jerry is a sick man causing real harm in the world. The Voices is a real hidden gem, with such a unique concept that is executed perfectly and doesn't get the credit it deserves. It's one of Ryan Reynolds' best roles that allows him to really play up the awkward, strange character that he hasn't really gotten to do since being skyrocketed to fame by movies like Deadpool and Free Guy. Really, if you look at the character of Jerry compared to Ryan Reynolds' other lead roles where he's the love interest, he's doing the same things, but in other films it's seen as charming instead of creepy. If you really think about it, this is a movie about all his other characters, but through the lens of someone else for once. It's also a movie about a serial killer that thankfully doesn't fetishize murders like many modern biopics. And this is mostly due to the way the movie shows the juxtaposition of Jerry's fantasy view of the world and the real world. The use of setting like this not only grounds the story and keeps us from empathizing with Jerry to the point where we lose sight of the fact that he's harming people, but it also adds to the unique blend of dark comedy and genuine character introspection that is not common in mid-tier budget films. Not to mention a cinematography style that is used to define and enhance the dreamlike world that Jerry inhabits. All of these elements come together to make a very stylized and unique film that you are not likely to forget. What are some other underappreciated gems that you love? Maybe something from an actor before they became big, or a small budget film that has a unique blend of art and appeal that creates something unforgettable. Let us know in the comments, and your suggestion could end up as a future video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. This has been Cursory Analysis. Thank you.